Hello friends, and welcome to this video. Today I wanted to try and build these radio buttons. They look like cards, but they behave like radio buttons. And these were designed by Steve Schoger. I found these on his Dribbble. And if I'm not mistaken, these are Tailwind UI components. Now it's not exactly the same. I think we're fairly close, but for the purposes of this video, I think it's more than good enough. So just before we jump into VS Code, if you do enjoy this video, if you find it useful and you want to support me, please do consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing for more of these videos. So today we're just going to handle the Tailwind component. We're just going to visually design these. I put a little hover state on them. But other than that, to actually make them interactive, we're going to do that in the next video using Alpine JS. So let's just jump into VS Code here. And this is the finished product. And we're just starting out here with my hat boilerplate, I like to call it. It's a HAT, and it's just an HTML file with Alpine and Tailwind, hence HAT. But we're just going to get started. I'm going to close this. And first thing I want to do is give this body a class. We just want to make the background a very, very light gray. So I'm going to do BG gray 100. And I also want to put a text class in here to make my text a certain color. I don't want it to be pure black, and I think it's easier if I just put it here in the body and let all the elements that need it kind of inherit the style. So we'll go with text gray 800. Okay, so next I want to add a div, and this div is going to be our container. It's going to be what really holds everything in our design. So we're going to make it a container. We're going to give it MX auto so that it's centered in the screen. And we'll just give it some horizontal padding and a little bit more vertical padding. And it'll just help our design come away from the edges a little bit. Okay. Next up, I want to make a div that'll contain our heading. So we'll make this div a class of flex call, and items center so that our text is centered. You could probably do this just using the text center class, but I'm doing it this way. I'm a flex fanboy. So we'll just start with a little span, which is going to be sort of our little super header. And this is just going to say pricing. And let's put the H1 in here too. So we'll do H1, select your plan. Okay, and we'll just give this pricing a class of text SM. We want to make this a little bit smaller. We'll give it a class of font bold, text gray 500, just to make it pretty light, uppercase, and yeah, I think that'll do. Let's style our H1 with a class of text 4XL. We want it to be fairly big. We'll do font semi-bold and negative margin top of 2. So you just put a little minus MT2. That's just going to bring the heading a little bit closer. Oh, let me go live here. Okay, and this is what it looks like so far. Nothing special, but we're getting there. Next up, I'm going to actually hard code these cards in. We won't be doing that obviously later on. It's not really a great way to do it. But for now, we'll just hard code these. We'll start with them unstyled, and then we'll just make this one a styled card. Okay, so So we're gonna need another class, or sorry, another div. I'm just gonna do div, and I'm gonna put, actually I'll just put one div in there. Now this div is going to have a class of flex, justify center, and we'll give it a margin top of 8. So next up, let's style our cards. So you can see here, we have this one card, which is one div, and then we have a div here on top, and a div here, right, with one div, and then some text. So let's just start here, and we'll add some classes to this guy. So we have margin, or horizontal margin of 3 to keep the cards separate from each other. Give it a width of 56. You can see here that none of these actually go all the way to the edge. So these have a fixed width, or at least, you know, a max width and width full, which is how you do that in Tailwind. So yeah, we'll want to give it an actual hard-coded width. So we're going with 56. We'll give it some rounded LG corners. It needs a border gray. Yeah, border gray 400. We'll give it a BG of white so it stands out. And overflow hidden, because we are going to make this div, we're going to give it a different background color. And if we don't make the overflow hidden, our background is going to spill over, and we'll see some pretty strange hard corners here. So overflow hidden, we want to do cursor pointer just so it looks like a link when we hover it. And I want to give it a shadow of SM. Yeah, shadow SM. And then on hover, we'll give it a shadow MD. Steve's design obviously is just a static image, but I think it would definitely need some sort of signal when you're hovering it. You want to know that you're hovering over an element and that it's kind of reacting to your actions. Next up, we'll just do a transition shadow, duration 200. And that way when we hover over it, let's see here, when we hover over it, okay, there's nothing in there. But you'll see that when we put some text in there, let's just go hello and put some padding just to show you. See that when we hover over it, it has this nice soft hover effect. Okay, let's go back in here. I'll remove the padding and I'll remove this text. We'll go ahead and put a div in here, which is going to be the header. This is pretty simple. We'll just put, I'm gonna go with a span. I don't think that's semantically correct, but we'll just go with that for now. And we'll give it a class, not clause, just a class of text SM. It's kind of small. Text, SM. And then we will give, we'll put the SVG. So you can see here when one of these boxes is checked, it has this check icon, just an SVG. And what we'll do is actually put one in all of them and only show it when the card is selected. Okay, so I'm gonna open icon set here really quick, and we'll grab check. That's not bad. I'll just go with icons. I think this is Steve Schoger's icon set, so it makes sense to use this. Command Shift C to copy the SVG code. Okay, And we have this. We don't need these because we're going to give it a height and width using Tailwind. So we'll give it an H of 5, a width of 5, and we'll do fill current so that it takes the fill color from the Tailwind class, and we'll then do text indigo 700, I think I had it at. Yeah, so this is going to stay indigo the whole time because it only shows when it's actually selected. But for example, for this guy right here, we only want the color to change when the card is selected. So we'll do that using Alpine, and we'll hard code it for now in the first one, but we'll do that later. So I also I think I'll do hidden for now. Let's actually just take a look at how this looks so far. Okay. So we'll need to give some styling on this div. So let's do class flex, justify between items center. That's just going to lay everything out nicely. Do a horizontal padding of 4 and a vertical padding of 3, as well as a border bottom, so border B, and we'll do border gray 400, same as the card border. And now we should see that it looks a little bit nicer. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and hide this for now with hidden, and we'll move on to the rest of the content. So we have another div here with, let's just give it its styles first. So we have class, we'll do the same thing, horizontal padding of 4, vertical padding of 3. And then we'll do a div to wrap the information. And I think I'll just do, I could either do span tags with display of block, or I'll just do 2p tags for simplicity's sake. Feel free to roast me in the comments if this is incorrect. So we got 32 gigs and 8 CPUs. Actually, I'm starting from the bottom, but let's start from the top. So 8 gigs and 4 CPUs. 8 GP, 4 CPUs. Put another paragraph tag with 160 GB SSD disk. 160 GB SSD disk, and I think disk is not capitalized. Okay. So let's go ahead and style this. Let's save this and see what it looks like now. Okay, so it's not bad, we're getting there, right? But obviously I think this text needs to be a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit lighter in terms of the font, and a little bit lighter in terms of color. Let's go back here, and I'll just put the text styles here since it's only wrapping the text, and it'll help save on some markup. So we'll start with text gray 600, text SM, as well as font light. And now we'll see we're looking a lot closer. Okay, it's obviously not going to be perfect. I'm not editing any of Tailwind's classes or extending anything. Not that I could, because I'm using it off the CDN, but I think this is more than close enough. Next up, we'll just have our prices here, and I think I'll just make that a paragraph as well. I could make it a span. I'll just do paragraphs for now, and I'm sure the roasting will ensue. $40 per month for this plan, if I remember correctly. Yep. And we'll give it a class. So it's obviously pretty big. And we'll just use the inherited color from the body and make it a little bit bolder. So we'll go with class MT2 just to separate it a little bit. Text 2XL and font bold. Okay, so that's looking pretty close. I'd say that's fairly close when we compare it to one of these cards. I wonder if I should make this text a little bit bigger. Let's try... Where are you? Let's see what text-based looks like, which is just the default. Yeah, I think that's closer. Okay, we'll stick with that. So we just want to go ahead and copy and paste this two times, so we have 3 cards. You wouldn't really want to do it this way in a real setting. You'd probably want to have some data that's being pulled from somewhere. And we'll be tackling that in the next video. Obviously with Tailwind, with the utility first classes, having all these classes in your markup, it looks a little bit daunting. It's a little bit cluttered the way that it is now, but you'll see in the next video, it gets a lot more manageable. So let's just go ahead and change the content here, and I'll skip over this. You guys don't need to see it. Okay, so we have our content updated here. All the cards have the appropriate content in them, price, plan size, etc., etc. Now let's go ahead and create this checked class, just so we can emulate the design that Steve made. So let's just go in here and we'll go to the first card, this small card, and we'll just change a couple of things. So obviously we want to have like an indigo border, and the text is also kind of a dark indigo. I think it's the same color here as the check icon. And then the background of this top div here is also a very, very light indigo. So let's go ahead and do that. Here in our card, we'll change this border to indigo 400. Let's see how that looks. I think that's fairly close. Not quite the same, but I think it's good. I think we'll stick with that. So indigo 400. I think that's all for here. Let's change this border to indigo 400 as well. Let's change this text to indigo, text indigo 700, I think. Looks like that's what I've used before. And then we'll make this the default display, which is block. Okay, cool. So it's not exactly the same. It's kind of weird here. It's definitely a lighter color. Let's maybe try indigo 600. See how that looks. Okay, so we just need to make the background here a very light indigo. Let's do it here, BG indigo 100. And there you go. Not perfect, but certainly close. And I think that's going to be about it for this video. So as I said, we're going to be tackling the actual interactivity using Alpine in the next video. So if you want to see that, if you found this useful, if you want to follow along in the next tutorial, then please do go ahead and subscribe. Leave me a comment, leave me a like, let me know that you like this, if it was useful for you, or if you hated it, and if you want to see me do something else. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.